Hi, I'm James Haskell and welcome to my beginner's guide to rugby. With 2015 being such a huge year for British rugby, I've noticed an influx in people wanting to understand what is seemingly a complex sport, which actually, when broken down, is not as confusing as you might think. I'm here to take you through everything, from the history of the game, the players, their positions on the field, the playing of the game, scoring, match officials, and much more. So let's get started. The history of rugby has always been something of a legend. It is believed that in 1823, a young boy by the name of William Webb Ellis, at a game of school football, picked up the ball and started running toward the opposition's goal line. It was at this moment the sport was born. Although this story was never officially told until after William's death, he is recognised as the founder of rugby, and a statue was erected in his honour in the town of Rugby in 1997. Rugby is a game played by people of all shapes and sizes, making it an incredibly accessible sport. As a result, in 2003, a set of core values were developed to enable people to understand the character of the game and what makes it different to other sports. The core values identified were integrity, passion, solidarity, discipline, and respect. Rugby kit for players is pretty simple. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Rugby boots differ slightly from football boots in that they have better toe protection, higher ankle support, and for those using screw-in studs as opposed to moulded blades, you have the option to increase the length of your studs slightly for better traction, depending on the position you're playing. Moving up, we have knee-length socks. Like football, shin pads can be worn, however it is less common and certainly not mandatory as part of the game. We move up to the shorts and onto the shirt. Nothing special to really tell you here. What you might be surprised to know is that there is actually body protection available to rugby players that goes under the shirt, depending on things like the position you play, or maybe if you're carrying a slight injury, you may choose to wear this. We then come to the gum shield, and this is probably one of the most essential pieces of equipment for the rugby player. Being tackled constantly, clashing heads with one another, tackling others all put you at risk of getting a knock to the face, so having a good quality gum shield is absolutely essential. And finally we come to the scrum cap. Now, being such a physical sport, you're constantly taking knocks on your head and are asked to put your head in difficult contact areas, so a scrum cap offers you some protection from this, as well as protecting you against the dreaded cauliflower ears. So let's have a look at who's on the team and how the formation works. A rugby union team is comprised of 23 players, 15 on the field and 8 subs. One thing that is unique about rugby is that it takes all shapes and sizes to make up a team, and often this will help determine the position you play within the team. The 15 players can be split into 2 categories, the forwards and the backs. Numbers 1 through to 8 are the forwards and 9 through to 15 are the backs. Each number represents a unique position within the field. So let's have a look at those positions. We'll start with numbers 1 and 3. Players wearing these shirts are known as props. Their primary role is to anchor the scrummage and provide lifting strength and support for the line-out jumpers. They are also pivotal in rucks and mauls. As a prop, you need upper body strength to provide stability in the scrum, endurance, mobility, and safe hands to maintain continuity of play. The number 2 is known as the hooker. These guys have 2 very unique roles on the field. The first is the player who wins possession in the scrummage, and the second is the player who usually throws the ball into the line-out. In this position, great strength is needed to withstand the physicality of the front row, coupled with the speed to get around the pitch and a good throwing technique. Numbers 4 and 5 are the locks. It's the lock's job to win the ball from line-outs and restarts. They drive forward momentum in the scrum, rucks and mauls, providing a platform for attack. A key characteristic for these players is height. The locks are the giants of the team and combine their physicality and mobility. Numbers 6 and 7 are your flankers. Their key objective is to win possession through turnovers, using physicality in the tackle and speed to the breakdown. These guys have no fear in their approach to winning the ball when going into a tackle. A combination of speed, strength, endurance and handling is essential to play in this position. Finally, for the forwards, we have what is known as the number 8. Number 8 must secure possession at the base of the scrum, carry the ball in open play, provide the link between the forwards and backs in attacking phases and defend aggressively. They must have power and pace over short distances to be able to gain territory and field position for a quick release to the backs during an attack. Now let's move on to the backs. Starting with the number 9, we have our scrum half. Their role is to provide the link between forwards and backs at the scrum and lineouts. A true decision maker, the scrum half will judge whether to distribute a quick ball to the backs or keep it close to the forwards. It is a multifaceted position. Scrum half must be powerful, have explosive speed, all-round handling and kicking skills. A great scrum half is often a highly confident player with excellent game understanding. Our number 10 is the fly half. This crucial player orchestrates the team's performance. They receive the ball from the scrum half and will choose to kick, pass or make a break based upon a split-second interpretation of the phase of play. It's essential they have the ability to kick well out of hand, ideally off either foot. They also must have great handling skills, pace, vision, creativity, communication skills, the ability to perform under pressure. Numbers 11 and 14 are your wings. They're on the pitch to provide an injection of pace needed to outrun an opponent and score a try, as well as being solid in defence. Wings will often find themselves in open space and their priority is to press forward at speed and run for the line. Strength and good handling skills are a big advantage here, but speed is the key to success. Next we have the 12 and 13 and they are known as your centres. They are key in both defence and attack. In defence they will attempt to tackle any attacking players and whilst in attack they will use their speed, power, creative flair to breach defences. The modern day centre is lean, strong and extremely quick. The position demands great attacking prowess, coupled with an intensity in contact to either retain or steal possession. And finally, we have our number 15, or fullback. This is your last line of defence. The fullback must be confident under a high ball, have a good boot to clear the lines, and not be intimidated by the physicality required to make try-saving tackles. A fullback must have great handling skills, pace in attack, and power in defence. They need the ability to join the line at pace to create an overlap and provide try-scoring opportunities for the wingers. It is very much a tactical role with bursts of flair throughout the game. With the team completed, you can see the number of different positions and roles available within the rugby team. There is literally something for everybody, and each role has its own set of core attributes that contribute to making up a successful rugby team. So we've looked at the history of rugby, we've taken a quick look at the kit you need to play, and we've identified the different roles within the team. Now let's look at how the game is played. There are a few terms you will want to familiarise yourself with when understanding the game of rugby. But before we do that, let's have a look at the rugby field itself. A rugby field is typically between 94 and 100 metres in length, from goal line to goal line. Beyond the goal line, at each end, we have the try-scoring areas, which range from 10 to 22 metres in depth. A full rugby pitch is typically 68 to 70 metres in width. The line running down either side of the pitch is known as the touch line, and anything outside of this line is known as in touch. Working from the centre, we have the halfway line, the 10 metre line, the 22 metre line and various other markings such as the 5 and 15 metre line, which are used in plays such as scrums and lineouts. Now we're familiar with the pitch, let's take a look at how we play the game. We'll start with a kick-off. Each half of the match is started with a drop kick from the centre of the halfway line. The non-kicking team must be 10 metres back from the ball when it is kicked, and the kick must travel 10 metres towards the opposition goal line before hitting the ground. From here the game moves into open play. The term open play refers to any phase in the match where the ball is being passed or kicked between teammates and both teams are contesting for the ball. In open play, the team in possession tries to get the ball to players in space who can make forward progression towards the opposing goal line. Alongside running toward the opposition's goal line, there are two main techniques to put the ball into open space: passing and kicking. We'll start with passing. As many people find this part a little confusing, a player may pass or throw the ball to a teammate who is in a better position to continue the attack. It must travel either directly across the field or passing the ball backwards to advance forwards. If a forward pass is made, the referee will stop the game and award a scrum, with the throw-in going to the team which was not in possession at the time of the pass. In this way, a forward pass is punished by that team losing possession of the ball, but we will look at that more when we focus on scrums. The second method is kicking. A player may kick the ball instead of passing and the ball can travel forwards, but any teammates in front of the ball at the moment the ball is kicked are out of play until either they retire behind the kicker or are played onside by a teammate. Retaining the ball after kicking can be challenging, so there are three main strategies when kicking the ball. The first is kicking into space so that teammates have time to run onto the ball before an opponent can get to it. The second is kicking out wide at an oblique angle to the field so that the wing or outside centre can catch the ball. We call this a cross-field kick. The third is kicking the ball to touch or off the field of play, resulting in a line-out with the throw-in going to the opposition. We'll look more at line-outs later. But what's important is that although this concedes possession of the ball, it allows the kicking team to contest the ball in a much more advantageous position on the field, closer to the try line of their opposition. Now that we have looked at open play, let's look at what happens between this. We are familiar with a rugby tackle, but many are not familiar with what can result from a tackle, and often why the game is stopped. We'll start by looking at the tackle itself. Only the ball carrier can be tackled by an opposing player. A tackle occurs when the ball carrier is held by one or more opponents and is brought to ground. The player being tackled must either have one or both knees on the ground, be sitting on the ground, or be on top of another player who is on the ground. To maintain the continuity of the game, the ball carrier must release the ball immediately after the tackle. The tackler must release the ball carrier and both players must roll away from the ball. This allows other players to come in and contest for the ball, thereby starting a new phase of play. A familiar sight in the game of rugby is a ruck, a game of pushing and shoving where both teams are trying to contest and win possession of the ball. A ruck is formed if the ball is on the ground and one or more players from each team are on their feet close around it. Players must not handle the ball in the ruck, but must use their feet to move the ball or drive over it so that it emerges at the team's hindmost foot, at which point it will be picked up and they have taken possession. Another familiar scene is what is known as the maul. The maul needs at least 3 players. It occurs when the ball carrier is held by one or more opponents and one or more of the ball carrier's teammates holds on or binds as well. The ball must be off the ground at the time. The team in possession of the ball can attempt to gain territory by driving their opponents back to their own goal line. The ball can then be passed backwards between players in the maul and eventually passed to a player who is not in the maul, or a player can leave the maul carrying the ball and run with it. We've looked at open play and how the team works together to advance the ball, or defends when the ball is being advanced towards them. But during this open play, infringements of the laws occur, resulting in set plays such as the scrum. The scrum is a means of restarting play after a stoppage, which has been caused by a minor infringement. The scrum serves to concentrate all the forwards and the scrum halves in one place on the field, providing the opportunity for the backs to mount an attack, using the space created elsewhere. The ball is thrown into the middle of the tunnel between the 2 front rows, at which point the 2 hookers can compete for the ball, attempting to hook the ball back in the direction of their team. The team who throws the ball into the scrum usually retains possession because the hooker and scrum half can synchronise their actions. Once possession has been secured, a team can keep the ball on the ground and in the scrum and attempt to drive the opposition downfield. Alternatively, they can bring the ball to the hindmost foot of the scrum, where the ball is then passed into the back line and open play resumes again. The key player at the scrum is the scrum half. This player throws the ball into the scrum, moves the hindmost foot of the scrum, and is usually the player who picks the ball up and passes out to the fly half, who then distributes the ball to the back line. As soon as the scrum half picks the ball up, the opposition may contest for the ball and attempt to tackle whichever player is in possession. Another option at the scrum is for the number 8 to pick up the ball and either pass it to the back line or carry the ball into the opposition, waiting for his support to clean the ruck. The line-out is another means of restarting play after the ball has gone into touch or off the field of play at the side. The line-out concentrates selection of forwards in one place near to the touchline, so the backs have the rest of the width of the field in which to mount an attack. The key for the forwards is to win possession and distribute the ball effectively to the back line. The forwards assemble in 2 lines perpendicular to the touchline, 1 metre apart. The hooker throws the ball down the corridor between these 2 lines of players. Because the thrower's teammates know where the throw is likely to go, that team has an advantage in retaining possession. However, with the speed of thought and movement, the opposition can contest for the ball, and the line-out frequently results in a turnover of possession. An important part of the line-out is the line-out lifters. To allow players to catch high throws in the line-out, it is permissible for the catcher to be supported by teammates while jumping to catch the ball. Safety is a prime concern here, and any player who is off the ground must be supported until that player returns to the ground. A player may not be tackled while in the air, and holding, shoving are all offences punishable by a penalty kick. We've spoken about various plays, positions and restarting the game. But the most important aspect of rugby is scoring a try. Scoring in rugby is actually pretty simple, and there are 4 key numbers to remember. If you score a try, you get 5 points. If you score a conversion from that try, you score an additional 2 points. And if you score a drop goal, you score 3 points. And if you score from a penalty, you score 3 points. Let's take a look at each one of these scoring methods. A try is scored when the ball is grounded over the opponent's goal line in the goal area. A penalty try can be awarded if a player would have scored a try, but for foul play by the opposition, he was stopped. A try is only scored when the ball is put down over the line with downward pressure. If a player loses control of the ball, then there is no try. After scoring a try, that team can attempt to add 2 further points by kicking the ball over the crossbar and between the posts from a place in line with where the try was scored. A drop goal is scored when a player kicks for goal in open play by dropping the ball onto the ground and kicking it on the half volley as it bounces from the ground. When awarded a penalty after infringement by the opposition, a team may choose to kick a goal to secure 3 points. Before the match, the referee will usually speak to the front row players, the props and hookers from both teams to run through the scrum engagement procedure. This helps to focus the minds of all concerned on this essential phase of the game. The referee then organises the coin toss with the captains prior to the match to decide who kicks off. During the match itself, the referee is the sole judge of fact and of law. It is essential that all players respect the referee's decisions at all times. 2 judges, one on either side of the field of play, assist the referee in matters of when and where the ball goes into touch and any other issues as required by the referee, such as foul play. The touch judges also adjudicate on the success or otherwise of kicks at goal. Foul play is anything a player does which is contrary to the letter and spirit of the laws of the game, including obstruction, unfair play, dangerous play and misconduct. The referee must sanction appropriately for foul play. Advantage can be applied to either minor infringements, such as a knock-on for example, or offences which would result in a penalty, so something like offside. The decision has to be made by the referee as to whether there may be more benefit to the non-offending team if play continues. If no advantage occurs, the referee will blow the whistle and bring play back to the place of the original infringement, which occurred prior to the advantage being played. Sometimes an attack, which seems to be heading towards the try line, will be stopped by the referee's whistle. If a pass has gone forward or a handling error has resulted in a knock-on, a scrum will have been awarded to the non-offending team. You will often hear when players are handling the ball the term knock-on. This is where a player mishandles the ball, so they may drop it or they allow it to rebound off a hand or arm and effectively the ball travels forward. This is punishable by a scrum to the opposition and therefore a turnover of possession. Rugby's offside rule restricts where players can be on the field to make sure there is space to attack and defend, meaning that players are given a fair chance to play the ball. In general, a player is in an offside position when that player is further forward than a teammate who is carrying the ball, or in front of the hindmost foot of a breakdown in play, i.e. a ruck or a maul. After a tackle, the tackler must immediately release the ball carrier and the ball carrier must immediately release the ball. Failure on either of these counts limits a fair contest for possession. If release does not occur within a reasonable time frame, the referee will award a penalty to the non-offending team. Any players on the ground when a ruck or maul is formed must immediately roll away from the ball so as to allow continuity of play for the team in possession. Failure to do so will result in an award of a penalty to the non-offending team. When joining a ruck or maul, all players must do so from behind the hindmost foot of their hindmost teammate. We call this going through the gate. If they join from the side, they are in an offside position and taking part in the game, and this will immediately be penalised with the award of a penalty. If the ball becomes unplayable at ruck, for example under players who are on the ground, the referee will award a scrum to the team going forward before the ball became unplayable. For a maul, the scrum goes to the team not in possession when the maul began. When signalling for a scrum, the referee will form a scrum with his hands and point either left or right to which team has possession. For minor infringements, the referee will award the team a free kick. They have 3 options available to them. They can either form a scrum, they can either tap and go, or they can kick the ball out on the full or kick the ball in play. If they kick it out on the full, the opposition will get the ball. I hope you've enjoyed my beginner's guide to rugby and got a better understanding of this amazing game. Please comment below, and if you have any questions, then contact us using the email address info@jameshaskell.com. We'll be back soon. Review, comment, and make sure you subscribe.